Hello, my name is Tony Brishik and welcome to the first video in a small video series on best practice use of HDXmodeller. And I'm making these videos under the advice of a couple of different referees, and I should add that they're not intended to replace the research articles themselves. Still recommend that anyone who wants to use the web tool HDXmodeller should first read the associated research articles. But HDXmodeller is fairly accessible and easy to use, and so these videos might just help people engage with the tool a little bit more and just reduce some of the barrier that might restrict some people from using it. So I don't know how many videos there are going to be. I've not made them all yet. I think there'll be around about 5 or 6. Hopefully they'll just be short, so well under 10 minutes each. Apologies, they're not particularly fancy. I've only just decided last minute that I'll put my camera on. I think it's better if you can see a face there, but I haven't designed the slides to work with a camera image, so I might have to turn that off later in the editing for some slides or move position. I'm also assuming that since you're here that you know what HDXMS is, and so I'm not going to provide any background on that. This first video is just an overview of HDXmodeller, so a quick overview of the optimization process in general, and also some information on why I think that the optimization of HDXMS data is useful. So here we have a image of a peptide map obtained by HDXMS. So this is just a hypothetical data set, and each of these squares that you can see here represents an individual amino acid. Now HDXmodeller is actually a tool for high resolution HDXMS, and I should add that when I say high resolution, I'm not referring to increasing the spatial resolution of the data. This can be achieved using better digestion or some data averaging tools. When I say high resolution, what I'm actually referring to is extracting a microscopic kinetic model of HDXMS data. So really what it's about is about obtaining more informative metrics about protein conformations. So in this hypothetical peptide map here, normally when we're using HDXMS, we're characterizing exchange along the y-axis here, and so we end up with an output which can show the change in mass, or RFU, which is relative fractional uptake, of each peptide over a range of different labeling times or isotope exposure times. And what we don't see is this information here shown in the x-axis, which is not only resolved for each amino acid but is also quantitative. So I'm not going to tell users how to do their own experiments. Obviously there's many people who have had a lot of success working with HDXMS on the peptide level. The problem is, for me, is that the metrics that we obtain when we characterize protein conformations at the peptide level is meaningless. We end up with outputs such as the mass or the normalized mass, which is the kind of relative fractional uptake, which I'll go through in a later video hopefully, or the change in mass or the change in RFU, typically between two different states, an experimental state and a control state. And when we operate on a high resolution or can extract a kinetic model with a lot more informative metrics. So the observed exchange rate of each amino acid can be obtained, or the protection factor, which is a derivative of the observed exchange rate, which is a number that reports how different the exchange rate of an amino acid is relative to a random coil, and from that you can then also determine the delta G HDX, which is the difference in free energy between the exchange competent and the exchange incompetent state. So then you get really a measure of the stability of each amino acid. So it's highly localized information, and it's really these metrics which are the essence of high resolution HDXMS for me, and also why I find data optimization quite exciting. And the thing is that this information is embedded in the experimental data, even on the peptide level, and we just need some way to extract it. So just a brief summary of the optimization process in general. So users first upload their data, and the data must be uploaded in a specific format. So it must be uploaded reporting the relative fractional uptake of each peptide over each isotope labeling time, and I'll provide more details in a later video about how to format correctly the input data. So once the data has been uploaded, then HDXmodeller will first generate some random numbers, and from that it will make initial guess values of the observed exchange rate, so KOBs, of each amino acid. And so these guess values are reported here. There's gaps in the data. I think these are from proline, and the data here are reported in log KOBs, just so I can fit them on this figure. And from these guess values, HDXmodeller will then generate a model of your data, so a macroscopic model. This is microscopic information, this is macroscopic. And this model is generated according to this polyexponential function here, where n is the number of exchangeable amino acids in a peptide. So that's the number of amino acids minus proline and the N-terminus. KOBs is the observed exchange rate, and T is the isotope labeling time. And HDXmodeller will then attempt to minimize the difference between your input data and this macroscopic model here, and it will do this by using or minimizing different loss functions, and there's actually 3 different loss functions available to HDXmodeller. These are optional. We'll go through that, or go through these loss functions in a later video. The default one is relaxed, shown here. And optimization is an iterative process, so it will continue until a certain error threshold has been reached, or after 1,000 iterations. And at that point, HDXmodeller will output the first replicate. So this is replicate 1, and we end up with the optimized exchange rates for each amino acid, and also the optimized macroscopic, so peptide model of your data. And so once replicate 1 has finished and completed, a new cycle will begin, and this will begin with completely new guess values for the exchange rates, so KOBs of each amino acid. From this it will generate a new model, and then the optimization process will proceed again until it's reached the threshold in terms of error, and then it will output replicate 2, and so on. New guess values, new macroscopic model, another round of iteration of minimization, sorry, and then it will output replicate 3, and this process will continue for 50 replicates, at which point the optimization will stop, and the output will be emailed to you to your inbox as a zip file. So there's many different types of output files in the zip file, and I'll go through that in a later video. And probably one of the most informative outputs is this one here, which is a summary of the data. And this summary includes the input data, a summary of the macroscopic outputs. So these were the model, the peptide model, once optimization had finished, and then finally a macroscopic output, which is reported as the log, the natural log of the protection factors for each amino acids. So the main problem with optimization has always been how confident you can be on the results. And so this is a key part of HDXmodeller, which is the validation process. And so how we can evaluate error in this is going to be the subject of a later video. So anyway, thanks for watching video 1, and I'll see you with video 2.